Hello, welcome back to my channel International and Strategic Affairs with Dr. Syed Adnan Bukhari. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic in the contemporary era that is unfolding, that is the Pahalgam crisis that is making its implications on the India and Pakistan relationship. In last week on April 22nd, 2025, there was a terrorist activity that occurred in the Pahalgam in which around 26 tourists were killed in the broad daylight by the four terrorists in the Indian occupied Kashmir. India blames Pakistan that Pakistan might be involved into that particular activity, and therefore in the aftermath of that they have taken many of the steps that are basically deteriorating the India-Pakistan relationship, and Pakistan also has taken certain steps in response to India, and the relationship between India and Pakistan they have been fractured more due to these particular incidents. So in this particular vlog, we will try to understand about what happened in the Pahalgam, what steps India and Pakistan they have taken, what is the international response to this particular incident, and what we can do and how India and Pakistan can move forward to basically avoid escalation and diffuse the crisis between India and Pakistan. On 22nd April 2025, last Tuesday, there was a terrorist activity that occurred in the Pahalgam, that is a southern district of Anantnag, Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. That is a tourist spot around 50 kilometers away from Srinagar, in which a group of armed men in camouflage they emerged from a nearby forest and opened gunshots at innocent tourists visiting the place in the broad daylight. The attackers opened indiscriminate fire at the Besaran Meadow, a scenic uphill area that is only accessible by foot or by pony riders. There were at least around 26 people who were killed. All of them were men, and more than a dozen others were injured. The tourists killed were almost all civilians and an Indian Navy officer from the northern state of Haryana, and also a foreign person from Nepal who was also killed in this particular incident. A statement has been issued by a militant organization, the Resistance Front, that was established in 2019, that is allegedly linked with Pakistan's Lashkar-e-Taiba, and they claimed the responsibility for the attack. And this organization basically claims that they have basically carried out this particular incident because of Indians. They have permitted the Indian citizens to live and work in Kashmir, and in this pretext they have basically carried out this particular incident. However, this news could not be independently confirmed, and the authenticity of this particular statement cannot be certain. Reportedly, there were four attackers who took part into the killings, who carried out this particular incident, and they fled from the area, and India is still searching for these shooters, and still they are on hunt. India has accused Pakistan's involvement into this particular incident. However, Pakistan has denied such claims. So what steps India took in the aftermath of this particular incident? That Indian political leadership, besides Prime Minister Modi, they went to Kashmir in solidarity with the families who were basically visiting there. Amit Shah, who was basically the Indian Home Minister, along with the country's top leadership, they basically went there. Prime Minister Modi was basically on the foreign mission to basically Saudi Arabia on April 22nd. Once this incident was happened, he cut short his foreign trip there, and he basically came back on the very next day on April 23rd to craft India's response. Indian Prime Minister Modi made a statement in a very harsh word that he said that I strongly condemn the terror attack in the Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir. Condolences to those who have lost their loved ones. I pray that the injured recovered at the earliest. All possible assistance is being provided to those affected. Those behind this heinous act will be brought to justice. They will not be spared. So once these attacks occurred, importantly, J.D. Vance, who is basically the Vice President of America, was also visiting India. Without giving any evidences, India claims that Pakistan was involved into this particular incident, and therefore they unilaterally took certain decisions in the aftermath of this particular incident. For example, India suspended the Indus Water Treaty, that is a water sharing treaty between India and Pakistan that was signed in 1960 with the mediation of the World Bank. An important step that Pakistan has taken is that it has shut down Pakistan's airspace for the Indian aircrafts, and no Indian aircraft will be able to pass through Pakistan's airspace. So shutting off these particular airspaces of Pakistan to the Indian aircrafts will cause Indian aircrafts to basically have the lengthier passes and also have more time to basically reach to their destinations. Indian aircrafts will not be able to pass through Pakistani airspace. Important question is that how the world is reacting. For example, the UN Security Council has stated that terrorism in all its forms and manifestations constitute as one of the most serious threats to the international peace and security. Certain acts are criminal and unjustifiable, regardless of their motivation, wherever, whenever, and by whomsoever are committed. Likewise, the UN Security Council also stressed that the perpetrators, organizers, financiers, and sponsors must held be accountable and brought to justice. While the UN Security Council has condemned these particular incidents, they have basically cautioned India and Pakistan to observe restraint and does not basically involve into this particular spiral of the escalation in which India and Pakistan they are into. US President Donald Trump has basically condemned these particular incidents on X, the platform, the social media platform. He has basically made a statement that the United States stands with India against terrorism. We pray for the souls of those lost and for the recovery of the injured. Prime Minister Modi and the incredible people of India have our full support and deepest sympathies. Our hearts are with you all. Likewise, the leaders of the other countries, they have also extended their condolences messages. For example, the British, Russia, UAE, France, Saudi Arabia, the leaders of all these countries, they have basically extended condolences to this particular incident. Importantly, there is a case of one particular country that is very important, that is Iran. Iran has basically offered mediation to both India and Pakistan to defuse their crisis. Both India and Pakistani government, they should accept the Iranian offer to use their good offices to normalize their relationship between each other. So given this particular situation of the Pahalgam incident, there are important points that need to be pondered upon. That after this particular incident, that there has been a cross-border fighting that has erupted between India and Pakistan. So far, there are no casualties that are basically reported up till now, but both India and Pakistan, they have basically resorted to the use of violence and they have violated this ceasefire agreement that has been agreed upon between these two countries in 2003. So, as happened in 2019, after the Pulwama Balakot crisis between India and Pakistan, once there was this aerial strike between India and Pakistan, both the countries, they basically resorted to this cross-border firing against each other, the checkposts of each other. And at that particular time, there were, casualties, they were reported. Up till now, 3 days have been passed in which both Indian and Pakistani forces, they have been basically exchanging fires against each other. The second is that intelligence failure might be the case in the India's lacking of the security measures that has basically taken. For example, there is this Indian Congress that has mainly criticized the Indian government of Prime Minister Modi of their security measures they have taken in Kashmir. And this is basically a security lapse that has basically taken, in which many of the innocent civilian people have basically lost their lives. There is no peace in Kashmir in the aftermath of 2019. The attack has shattered the Indian government's narrative of bringing normalcy to the Muslim majority region through its heavy-handed approach. Likewise, New Delhi scrapped the region's limited autonomy in 2019 and brought the state under direct rule from New Delhi, a move that has further alienated the Kashmiris. India has resorted to the use of force. Like the Israelis, they are basically punishing the civilians for the sake of the terrorists or militants. Likewise, the Indians, they are basically punishing the civilians. They have been demolished around more than 9 houses in Kashmir that might be linked with the militants, or those might be involved into a kind of uprising or maybe militancy inside Kashmir, and India has basically done this particular thing. Of these houses, they basically depict for the idea of the collective punishment which Indians are taking from the people of Kashmir. Terrorism is a common challenge for India and Pakistan. While India blames Pakistan of this particular terrorist activity, so it is important to witness that Pakistan is basically witnessing more incidents of terrorism than India. For example, we have been witnessing a series of terrorist activity across the country in last more than 2 or 3 years. And this is basically to say that Pakistan might be involved into this particular incident. It is basically an insane idea. While India claims that Pakistan might be involved into the Pahalgam Incident, it may be the case that India might be evading the international pressure from its operation of the extrajudicial and extraterritorial killings of certain persons whom it deems as the threat for its national security in Canada, US and Pakistan. Is that there is no crisis management mechanism between India and Pakistan. Since 1998, once India and Pakistan they acquired nuclear weapons, there had been around 6 times once a crisis situation has developed between India and Pakistan, and there was no crisis management mechanism between the two nuclear armed adversaries. The first was this Kargil conflict, the limited war between India and Pakistan. The second was this 2001 to border standoff for around 10 months. The third was this 2003 Mumbai attack crisis. The fourth one was this 2016 Uri attack, and followed by a so-called surgical strike claims by India, which Pakistan denied. And the fifth one was this Pulwama Balakot crisis that happened in the aftermath of the Pulwama incident. And the sixth one is this Pahalgam attacks and the unfolding crisis that we are witnessing. So India and Pakistan, they don't have any mechanism, any framework in which they can diffuse their crisis. They can basically overcome and normalize the situation. So if war occurs between these two nuclear armed adversaries who are capable of around 170 to 175 nuclear weapons each, so it will have repercussions beyond imaginations. So there should be certain kind of steps to normalize and diffuse this particular situation that is unfolding between India and Pakistan. The suspension of this Indus Water Treaty would have the far-reaching implications for Pakistan. Why? Because Pakistan basically an agrarian country. It is basically an agriculture-based country, and most of its agriculture and economic needs, 80 to 90%, depend on the flow of water, particularly of these particular rivers. And if the water which India basically he is basically trying to divert, or it has basically threatening that it has suspended this IWT, and in the longer run, maybe 20 years or 20 years, 10 years or 20 years of time, it will construct dams and divert the water flows from Pakistan to India. It would have repercussions for Pakistan, that is already is a water-stressed country, and coupled with this climate change effects, it will have far-reaching implications for Pakistan. In pretext of this particular India's suspension of the Indus Water Treaty, Pakistan's National Security Committee has basically said, in the aftermath of once India basically took certain decisions. So Pakistan's National Security Committee has decided that India's decision to suspend and end this IWT, Indus Water Treaty, and stopping the flow of water to Pakistan will be considered as an act of war. So it is a very bold statement that basically came from Pakistan. So if India basically undertakes any of the decision to stop the flow of water, that basically, realistically speaking, the flow of water cannot be stopped instantly. For example, India said that it has stopped the flow of water to Pakistan. So after 2 or 3 days, they have basically opened the gates of the flow of water, and there are certain news that is coming up that the flow of water has increased around 10 feet in the Jhelum River. So this is basically to say that realistically the flow of water cannot be stopped instantly in the shorter term, but it would have the far-reaching implications. And Pakistan and India both need to basically agree to and stick to this Indus Water Treaty, but it is high time that India basically take back its decision of this Indus Water Treaty's suspension. But India suffered around 500 to 700 crore Indian rupees once there was this Pulwama crisis and Pakistan shut its airspace, and it has basically struck a loss of around 500 to 700 crores. And now this time Pakistan has also suspended. We don't know that for how long Pakistan's airspace will be closed, but it will adversely impact India's aviation, as they have to divert routes of their airplanes that take them more traveling time and cost. So given this particular situation, we come to this conclusion that Pakistan is a reality. India cannot deny it. It is basically a nuclear armed state with a well-established conventional force in domains of the land, air and water. It is high time that non-state actor terrorism needs to be calculated as a common threat for both India and Pakistan, and both India and Pakistan need to take collective actions to fight against this menace of terrorism. Pakistan has asked for a joint investigation into the incident of the Pahalgam, and India, which it claims that Pakistan might be involved. So Pakistan has said that maybe China or Russia may be involved into this joint investigation, in which the truth can be surfaced, and we can know, the international community can know about the truth. So this is basically a good thing that have basically came from Pakistani side. India should accept it, and it is basically a good start to go ahead. Another important development that happened during this particular event is that Pakistani and Indian diaspora, across the world, for example in UK and in other countries, they have basically came up and they have been basically exchanging the harsh words against each other. For example, before the Pakistani High Commission, there were Indian and Pakistanis who have been basically chanting slogans against each other. That is basically a thing that has came forward as an outcome of this particular incident. We consider that goodwill and rational decision making should prevail over irrational and absurd decision making. Conflict leading to war, may be smaller or the larger one, will have consequences beyond imagination, and it is nor desirable and nor affordable in the interest of the larger masses of India and Pakistan. It is high time for the governments of India and Pakistan to sit, negotiate, and sort out their issues through negotiation. The resolution of the international issues, including this issue of terrorism, can only be sorted out through negotiation. I thank you very much.